Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, just today from David Garland, I did get in that last batch of 24 stands for my AWA Remco figures. Now, this backdrop right here is very synonymous in a lot of my videos. You see it a lot. So, this area right here, I do have for my loose actual 1980s AWA Remco figures, right? But I got something a little bit different from Ringside Collectibles, and I wanted something a little bit different to display my bell-to-bell Remco style action figures. So instead of going for the AWA logo, I decided to go with the WCW logo. And let's see, where can I get my little, I can't do it on here, or can I? Aha, I can give you a little flashlight, so give you a little bit more lighting over here. You guys seen these figures before, and these are just the bell-to-bell, again, Ringside Collectibles, 5.5 Remco style figures. And I have all these figures on card, and these are just the duplicates I bought so that I could have some of them, spare. Once upon a time, this little DVD shelf, I had all those extra LJN figures, and this is kind of like what I'm doing over here. So, and then you got just the regular mint on card figures. One of my goals, one of the things I am trying to do eventually. Now, how do I turn this darn camera off, or this flashlight? There we go. Let me just take a seat over here. So probably this week, it's something I've been thinking about for, I don't know, a number of weeks now. I don't know how long, not important. One of the things I've been wanting to do is kind of look at all the different manufacturers for Remco style figures. A few weeks ago, I took a look at the British Bulldog action figure, or the British Bulldog character, and looked at all the different Hasbro style figures, right? And for my channel, that video did relatively well. Again, my videos, they don't exactly blow up, they're not like thousands and thousands of views. If one of my videos get like 200 views for my channel, that is a respectable view count. So and I think that video probably got about 300-400 views. I don't know how many. I got to go back and actually look. I'm going to say 300 views. So it's something that people were interested in. And I think even before I decided to make that particular type of video, looking at the different style Remcos, obviously your 1980s AWA Remcos, looking at your Ringside Collectibles, bell-to-bell figures, looking at your Major Bendies or your Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, Remco style figures, right? Looking at your different bootleg type figures, some of your Soma wrestlers, your Mannix figures, yes, your wrestling champs and your stuff like that. Now, there are like way too many bootleg figures out there to try and go out and collect every single bootleg style. So I'm going to try my best to try and pull out as many bootleg-esque figures as possible, but I'm going to try and look at all the different, I'm only looking at wrestling figures, obviously, but I am going to pull out all the different Remco-style bootleg figures or wrestling figures, and that's going to be an upcoming video this week. So if you are interested in that particular storyline, that is something to be expecting this coming week. Also, recently, couple days ago, I put out a new poll on the YouTube community, kind of asking the question, do you guys like it when I put out these mass videos, as basically let you guys know, hey, this is the schedule for the next coming few days. This is the schedule for the next coming week, etc. I like doing it that way because, it gives you guys a heads up. You know what to expect, and it kind of gives you something to look forward to. But you know what? Some people, they may not like that. Some folks might want to be surprised and, what's to be coming. And, it could potentially hurt me as well, because maybe someone's not interested in watching a review of grapplers and gimmicks. But if they don't know what's coming and they tune in to watch my video and it's a grapplers and gimmicks review, they might be okay. You know what? I'm watching. Let's go ahead and get this in. So, and I get another view from that. So, yeah, I guess it does give you your pros and cons either way. So far, it kind of looks like more people are leaning towards wanting to be surprised and not caring about, wanting to know what's doing. So I guess this week, when the last video ends, I'm gonna probably stop doing the pre-scheduled videos. And if you guys, if a majority of you guys don't want that, again, hit me up in the comments. Let me know, hey, please keep going with the schedules. And because, like I said, there's only like 5 people that have left, have voted so far. So it's not like a large margin of people, but that's kind of like what's going on so far on YouTube community, or what's to be expected so far as what's happening on upcoming week. Also, for view counts and as far as bringing in new subs and stuff like that, obviously my buddy Kirk, he's always recommended to me, hit up those shorts. Yeah, I know he said that his shorts give him a killer amount of new subscribers. That's awesome for his channel. And I looked at his account recently. The man's hovering near 1,000, and that is freaking amazing. I am so freaking proud of him. If you guys haven't subscribed already, Kirk's Corner, he's hovering around like 950, I think. Go ahead, give him a subscription, man. Get him to 1,000. Let's get him monetized. He freaking deserves it. But he's recommended shorts to me, and I've tried. I spent about 2 weeks where I put out short videos every single day of the week, and those shorts, they don't really get a lot of views, even at 1-minute videos. So I kind of put a halt to that. Even on TikTok, they didn't do too well. 250 to 450 views, and then they halt after about 24 hours. So I'll go back from time to time. I'll do it periodically. It just won't be like what I was doing. The plan was every single day, but even at 1-minute videos, it just I got bored immediately. New A's Rev kind of hit up on the topic that, hey, we need to do a lot of live shows. Shoot, man, even making a video like this, I kind of had to film this video like 6 times before I got to doing this straight through, because I kept messing up on the beginning video. I don't like doing lives, man. I mess up on words a lot. I choke up, or not choke up. What's the word? I stutter a lot. So, I use the wrong verbiage and stuff. So it's like, at least when you use, at least if I'm filming a video, I have the chance to like pause and kind of like recalibrate of sorts and kind of think about what I want to say. Like, okay, that's the word I want to say, or type of deal. And I can't do that during a live show. So that's kind of humiliating for me sometimes. But at least in live shows, it gives the fans the opportunity to kind of communicate with you one-on-one, or so that helps up big time. Also, I really want to get my wife to kind of sit in on a live show with me one day, and she might be open to it. So I'm kind of interested in seeing if the viewers would actually be interested in having a one-on-one with the missus. So I think that would be pretty awesome. And I think she's a whole lot more entertaining than I am. So I think it wouldn't be my show anymore if she sat in on it, because she would definitely take over. Like I said, she's really the fun one. So, but that is something I want to do. I thought about doing live shows during the week, but because a lot of people work, I thought, okay, maybe on the weekends. But then again, what time on the weekends? I figured Friday night, 9 p.m. is legitimately the best time. Sunday, 9 p.m. Between Sunday, 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday night, not really, because people got work the next day. So Friday and Saturday would probably be the best time. But Friday night, but people want to go out, right? Go out to dinner, go out to clubbing, whatever people are doing. Man, 10 minutes. This is supposed to be a tournament video, but I'm thinking I might want to make this its own separate video. Yeah, I might have to. This might have to be a separate video. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do my 4 matches. I'll try and go fast with the video. Today's tournament video, guys. Let's dive in. We are on round 2-14. So, if you guys are interested in a live show, please, again, let me know in the comments, because otherwise I probably won't even think about it. New Japan Pro Wrestling, Hulk Hogan from Wrestling Writer will take on, of course, SD Jones Yellow. George Steele will be taking on Brutus from Random Treasures. $1 Million Man from Wrestling Writer. That's White Suit $1 Million Man. Takes on Ken Patera. And finally, Dusty Rhodes takes on Hercules from the Raider Nation. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull the figures, and I will be back in a split second. Alright, so first matchup today, and it's easily the best matchup of the video. SD Jones Yellow taking on New Japan Pro Wrestling Hulk Hogan. So, this figure from Eric, and this has been one of the most aggravating figures from Wrestling Writer. And this one I talked about, where in January 2023, he offered the figure to me, and I'm like, that is so freaking awesome. $90 for the figure. I'm like, the price tag was just so freaking high. At the end of the day, I cannot fathom paying a ludicrous amount of money for a Series 1 Hogan. A Series 1 Hogan, to me, even in great shape, I know people normally get about $30, $35 for a really fantastic condition Series 1 LJN Hogan. But essentially, I kind of look at a Series 1 Hogan to be about a $10, $15 figure. So, when I start seeing people customize a Series 1 Hogan, and yes, I get it, they're swapping out the head, and they're turning it into something completely different. It's still, even with that, swapping that head mold out, I'm looking at this as about a $40 figure. And even with that, maybe $50 at tops. So, value. Value should not be a part of a My Favorite LJN tournament. Value should not be any part of that. If this was a $10,000 figure and I bought this from a next door neighbor for 25 cents at a yard sale, if this was a better figure, then this would be a better figure. It's as simple as that. It's about nostalgia, right? It's about how you feel about the particular character. That feeling, that attribute, that criteria, the criteria of the nostalgia and how that feeling, that wasn't part of my first tournament, and it was ludicrous of me to think that I couldn't include that as part of my criteria, because of course it's going to play a role. But your playability of the action figure, the grip and feel of the action figure, the colors and details of the figure, accessories, okay? All of this stuff is important when you're looking at a playable wrestling action figure. Value should not play a role, but when I look at something like a Bruiser Brody, I'm like, okay, this is a $250 figure. And then I look at something like a purple Tito Santana, I'm like, okay, this is like a $7 figure. Yeah, how can you not think of value in those terms? So eventually, obviously, even though I didn't pick up the figure right away, eventually I did PayPal him the money, and I did pay that $90 for the figure. And it still took 15 months or so before I finally got this figure in the mail, even though it was already complete. I mean, he was already getting ready to put it on eBay to sell, so it's like, what the hell? Why did it take so freaking long for a figure that was already complete? And then even when I got it in, it's like, I don't know. This is a common theme I'm noticing with a lot of his figures. It's not simply the fact that a lot of his figures are losing paint. I don't know if he ever paints the bottom of the feet ever, because I'm noticing that every single figure that I get from him never has paint. Always has paint loss on the bottom of the feet. So, but other than that, this is an absolutely spectacular. I mean, that is arguably one of the single greatest head molds of any action figure that you will ever find. That is pristine. But the perfectness of the head mold is also a sort of downgrade. When I look at an SD Jones, one of the things I say I covet about originality is the fact that because it's original, you like the original figure, you like the original colors. Yes, I like customs because it gives you a fresh take. It gives you something different to add to the collection, something that's unique to you that not everyone else in the world has. So that's why customs mean the world. But to have that unique, or to have that originality, it's important to everybody. And I understand when you're selling an item and it's people ask, has it been touched up? Is it original paint? Yeah, I understand why they're asking for that. So when I talk about, well, I've got this $500 Andre the Giant figure that's in pristine condition, but it's been repainted. Why are you looking to pay $600 for a black singlet Andre that's almost completely faded off, but you're offering me $122 for a mint condition black singlet Andre, even though it's like 100% mint, only because it's been repainted, type of deal. I mean, just an example. Also, you think about the 80s, you think about the cartoony sort of look with the figures. Random Treasures, they do a fantastic look with a lot of their figures, right? And even when you look at the, obviously not this variant, but when you look at the Random Treasures version of their New Japan Hogan, where he's in his Series 5 look, Series 5 Hogan, the Series 5 version Hogan, it's not as like 3D printed ish, where it's because this is more like somebody just snapped a photo of him, and this is kind of like a real life, like a head sculpt or like a real life picture type of deal. That's still kind of, the Ram Treasures version is still kind of cartoony of sorts. So it still fits in with the 1980s cartoon look of the figures. Yes, you could say you really love and appreciate the updated look to be more modern, but it just doesn't blend in as well you got a 2020s look with a 1980s figure, essentially. These are both absolutely perfect figures. One of the things I've said is Hulk Hogan is probably my number 2 all-time favorite LJN figure. SD Jones I put on my list right at the end, way back when. I put SD Jones at my number 10 slot as favorite LJN figure. Well, you say, well, easy decision, right? Number 2 to number 10. Today, I don't know. Because I feel like that is so stupid of me, because there is absolutely no way possible SD Jones is the number 10 best LJN. I mean, how is SD Jones not in the top 5 best LJN figures of all time? SD Jones is very well possibly, if not a number 1 best LJN figure, number 2, number 3, he's got to be, like I said, he's got to be somewhere in number 5, the top 5. I'm trying to feel on grip, and I don't know. Even though they have different grips, they both have their own unique grip to it. They both have a fine grip to it. I don't say one necessarily has a better grip than the other. I love the fact that you always have this awesome choke slam. Yes, King Kong Bundy, I would say, outside Greg Valentine, has always been like the number 2 most utilized figure. But if I'm sitting down and I'm going to like an action figure that I want to utilize more than anything, and not even Greg Valentine, I actually say that SD Jones is probably my number 1 most. If I'm looking at the figures, and if I want to sit down right now, have a play, and I want to play wrestling figures, for lack of a better term. Yeah, let's say that, play wrestling figures. Sorry, I just got I just got South Park stuck in my head right now with Eric Cartman. He's down in his basement playing lambs. Anybody that watches South Park, and he's playing Silence of the Lambs. Put the lotion on the skin, or else you can. I don't know why that got in my head. But anyways, this is the number 1 go-to figure. SD Jones is most certainly not a number 10 figure anymore. He is at least a top 5. And I've said before, I don't know if Hulk Hogan is necessarily in my top 2 anymore. He could potentially be a number 8 nowadays. I don't know. Once this tournament is over, I am going to resituate my top 10 list. And it could be completely different. Now, with that being said, it is highly possible that when I redo my top 10 list, everybody could change. And I could still be saying everything from my first list is still how I situate everything, but I don't know. I gotta come up with a decision. I'm going with SD Jones. SD Jones is just so much of a fun figure, and I've always said in this tournament, there's like 5 figures in this entire tournament that I think could really beat Hulk Hogan, like any of the Hulk Hogan figures. And I didn't know if I would ever really say SD Jones would be one of them, but clearly he must be. I really thought of all the Hulk Hogans in this tournament that this would be the one Hulk Hogan that had the best chance of winning this entire tournament. And if he can't win this tournament, then how much hope does that give any of the other Hulk Hogans? Because if SD Jones just wiped out arguably, in my opinion, the best Hulk Hogan, I'm not saying that a Hulk Hogan, that just means that the Hulk Hogan can't win this tournament now, but I think that does say that the writing is on the wall. So SD Jones, moving on to round 3. Next battle is George Steele taking on Brutus Beefcake. So, love it or hate it. Now, first and foremost, this is a fantastic figure from Ram Treasures, and absolutely love it. Okay. Absolutely zero issues with the Brutus Beefcake figure from Ram Treasures. The only downside, if I had to give one, it's a similar downside I give to like a figure like Hulk Hogan. It's the fact that, or a figure like Rick Rude, or a figure like Ultimate Warrior, etc. It's figures that already exist in the LJN universe. So, you already have a Brutus Beefcake in the LJN world, so do you really need another Brutus Beefcake to be made from Ram Treasures? So if you do have one complaint about this Brutus Beefcake, that is it. That is literally the only issue. Now, with that being said, he is a very similar figure to what you get from LJN, so you can look at it as a positive, you can look at it as a negative. If you had Brutus Beefcake as a kid and you really love the figure, you love the way it felt, you love the way it played, you might love this figure because you're very familiar with the way that it played and handled. Or you might hate it because, well, you know what? We already have this basically the exact same sort of figure, so why couldn't they come up with something completely different? So you can make an argument on both sides. One of the greatest things, well, there's two huge bonuses that Ram Treasures made with this figure, and I cannot say enough positives, and it starts with the rubber shears. Oh my god. That right there made this figure worth all of the money in the world. Because, I mean, these figures are always falling off the shelf, right? And because of how overloaded my shelves are, yeah, this guy has fallen off a number of times. And if these were resin or something, these darn things were broken a million times by now. So these being rubber, huge. Also, you went from like having the Jay Leno head or haircut and all that, right? And you give him like the regular Brutus Beefcake haircut that I can remember. Now, if I actually put him in like probably 1992, let's say Series 3 Hasbro, white zebra pants or something, you know, that could have been like or kind of like Zodiac, I guess, Bruce Beef. But he's like the warrior. There's just certain characters like the Rockers, man, Brutus Beefcake, Ultimate Warrior. There's certain folks out there who just had 100 million different looks. And there were just so many different looks that you could have gone with. And if you were a millionaire, yeah, you'd probably buy like 20 Brutus Beefcake figures because you'd want to get like 20 different looks. George Steele is from LJN. He's a fine figure. He really is. The most hate that this figure gets, it's twofold. The biggest thing is arm positioning, obviously. Arm positioning makes George Steele a horrendous, playable action figure. The second thing is the skin tags. Now, they're not really skin tags, it's hair. It's the LJN version of hair. Do I prefer this more than like the rubbed on look that, like, let's say Random Treasures does with the oil or dirt or whatever that they utilize for hair? Of course, like Major Bendy's, they take like markers or whatever and they put dots on the hair on the chest. I think that looks great. That right there is fine. I don't mind that at all. You look at their Matt Cardona figure and all they're doing is dots. That's spectacular. So when I look at this, I mean it just looks like skin lesions. Looks like the man has like really bad skin cancer or something. I mean, it's just that kind of makes his body look really bad. I don't know what it is about the figure though. Like King Kong Bundy, even though King Kong Bundy has like a very similar pose, just very minuscule change in arm positioning, right? King Kong Bundy gets so much use and so much fun, but George Steele is like very odd and just not, doesn't get as much usage. It was nice to get George Steele into round two, but to me, this was an absolute no-brainer. I mean, you're not going to spend a lot of time on a matchup like this. Bruce Beefcake is just an absolute no-brainer. I mean, Bruce Beefcake is more than a round three. Bruce Beefcake should make it into round four, round five, possibly. Could he go further? I hope so. It's a fantastic piece, so I'm really excited to see how far Brutus can go into this tournament. Next matchup is Ken Patera taking on White $1 Million Man from Wrestling Rider. So this is actually going to be a lot more interesting matchup than you might think. So think about it this way. Ken Patera, 2.5 years ago, when I did my listing of top 10 least favorite LJNs ever, Ken Patera was a top 10. He was my number 10 least favorite LJN ever. And I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, but during my favorite LJN tournament, I believe this $1 Million Man made it to round 5. Again, I could be mistaken. He could have been round 4. And it could have been another $1 Million Man. It could have been another $1 Million Man. It could have been this one, but I'm almost positive it was a Wrestling Rider $1 Million Man. So I'm thinking this one, and if it wasn't round 5, it was round 4. But the point is, he made it very far. And so I held this $1 Million Man in very high esteem. I absolutely love this figure. And Ken Patera, even though I didn't despise the figure, obviously I've said before, I thought that that LJN provided some amazing figures, and to come up with 10 bad figures was impossible. So I had to look at the different figures, and I'm like, okay, Jesse Ventura was easy. Roddy Piper was easy. Iron Sheik was easy. Snuka was easy. Rick Rude was easy. You're not going to get 10 easy ones like that, right? So, when you start getting in the back end, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc., who are you looking at? You're going to start looking at guys like Ricky Steamboat. You're going to start looking at One Man Gang. You're going to start looking at Macho Man. You're going to start looking at Ken Patera. You're going to start looking at guys with their arms up and basically these figures that are unplayable. Well, One Man Gang, I liked his color. I liked his detail. I liked his bulkiness. He was out of it. Ricky Steamboat, barely. I thought Ricky Steamboat barely had a better play pose. Minusculely better. So I think if I had to redo it, he probably would have been like number 11. So he was just off the top 10. And I eventually settled on Ken Patera. So you would think that $1 Million Man would win this one as a runaway. But when I pulled these names to square off against each other, I kind of thought about these figures in my head. And something about this figure, for as long as I've had this channel, I've always said, what you feel about this figure today is not how you're going to feel about this figure next year. How you feel about this figure today is not how you're going to feel about this figure 5 minutes from now. Adrian Adonis, when I first got that figure, I thought it was one of the worst figures I'd ever seen. For the last year or more, year and a half, however long it's been, I've had Adrian Adonis listed on my list as one of the top 20 best LJN figures. 2.5 years ago, I said Ken Patera was a top 10 worst LJN figure. Today, I probably say Ken Patera is maybe in the top 30, top 40 at worst, best LJNs. Now, is that absolutely incredible rating? No, but I mean, out of 70, 80 figures, a top 30 isn't bad at all. I mean, a top 40 puts him, still 40 out of roughly 80 figures. I mean, that's mid-range. So, I just don't know anything about Ken Patera. This is where I have to use nostalgia, right? I don't know anything about Ken Patera. And his play pose is terrible. He doesn't really have a lot of color scheme, but he has his thickness that I love. Bulkiness. But the grip is fantastic. $1 Million Man, he's got an adequate play pose. I mean, the accessory, the money wad is in the way, but you can still use it as a playable wrestling action figure. The overall look and design is spectacular. This is a figure that usually does really well in my tournaments. Now, because I always have so many $1 Million Man figures, either one or a ton of the figures usually go pretty far in my tournaments. So one of these figures usually are going to make it somewhere 4 or 5 rounds. This tournament has been so freaking odd. And already, even though we're only in the second round, it has been so friggin' different from all of my other tournaments. And I am going to continue making this tournament different from all the others. I am changing tradition, and I'm going with Ken Patera. Ken Patera, I think, has always been like a first round elimination in my past tournaments. Maybe at best, maybe a second round, but he's making it to the third round this time. I don't know what it is, but I feel really good about this figure moving forward. I don't think he's going to be third round and gone. I think he has a legitimate chance to go much, much further than I've given him credit in the past. Like I said, I will keep saying it. Figures I've didn't really covet. Guys like Steve Williams and Tully Blanchard from Ram Treasures. I didn't care about those figures when I first got them. But recently, especially since doing this tournament, I feel so much differently about them nowadays than I did when I first got them. And I feel that same way about so many different figures. So that's pretty amazing. Last matchup is going to feature from the Raider Nation, Hercules going up against Dusty Rhodes from Ram Treasures. Now, Hercules, I you guys remember my first tournament, I had regular Roman Hercules LJN figure, and then I had the Wrestling Rider Hercules resin figure, and then from Raider Nation I had this Hercules, and that's back when I had the DVD shelf, and then all the figures were like this, kind of like behind one each other. I had original figure, and then I had all the customs of that figure, of that character, kind of situated behind them like so, and then you moved on to the next LJN figure, and then if they had a custom, they kind of situated behind it. So in the first tournament, all of their figures basically went up against each other. Second tournament, I didn't do it like that. I still had them side by side like so, right? But because they were all different figures, they didn't have to share the same body pose. They all went off as different figures, so they were all basically one-offs. And I kind of did the same thing, and I did that same thing this time around. So all 3 figures got the opportunity to square off against different competition. And this time they didn't square off as they were situated on the shelf. It was a blind drawing, so this tournament was completely different as all around. Excuse me. I've always loved Rare Nation because Rare Nation has always gone above and beyond with their figures, always taking the most highest quality LJN figures. Whether you're taking Harley Race, whether you're taking Billy Jack Haynes, you're taking Rick Martel, you're taking I don't know, I'm trying to look at it. Honky Tonk Man and Coco Beware and Series 2 Andre the Giant, right? You're taking all of these amazing high-dollared figures and you're creating incredible upgrades or creating new characters. Taking Billy Jack Haynes and you're creating Hercules. Is it the greatest? I mean, nowadays, if I were to look at this figure, I probably wouldn't look twice at it. I'm like, no. I probably would, unless this figure was selling for like $30 or something, $40 even. I probably wouldn't touch this. But back in the day when my wall did not look like this, no, this was an integral piece. Very important that I acquired something like this, especially when I had gotten when I got Doink or no, I think I got Honky Tonk Man, and then I got Coco Beware. I think this was the 3rd piece I got from the Raider Nation among the customs. So, and like I said, Billy Jack Haynes is one of my favorite LJN figures ever. So that played a huge role. And I don't think this was like a crazy expensive figure at all anyways. So Dusty freaking Rhodes. I still say Zeus is the be-all, the end-all of the Random Treasures exclusives. They did everything right when they made that Zeus figure, but damn near perfect. And if not darn near, no, scratch that. Dusty Rhodes is a perfect figure. Fantastic play pose, awesome look, girth to the figure. I mean, if you kind of look at the figures that I really covet, like Hogan and Stud, right? Kamala, guys with like the bended knees and stuff, that so that they have like that perfect to be body slam pose, that would have made it probably would have actually made it a perfect figure. But other than that, overall look and color scheme and everything throughout, it is a fantastic piece. Probably one of the top 5 best figures for Man Treasures. And it is so friggin' hard to choose a top 5. And when I look at Ram Treasures and I look at Zeus and I look at Dusty Rhodes, and I'm kind of looking at him right now, and I'm now looking at Berserker, right? Dino Bravo is a great figure. If he didn't have that stupid arms hands up, he would be up on that list among the top 5. But again, the arms up is really what's keeping him down. Maybe the Black Legion of Doom could be thrown up on that list, but the point is, there are so many figures that you could really put up there that could really go neck and neck. This really is a cream of the crop figure. If I ever decide to start making wrestling matches, that's an idea, because I am coming across so many freaking YouTubers that, and these are grown ass men making these matches just for fun. And these aren't even guys that are like, that do this professionally, that like make wrestling matches as part of like their channel. Like their channel centers around making videos. They're just, hey man, I want to put a match together and make a video of it and put it on YouTube, and hey, they're getting a ton of views. Like, people are freaking enjoying that. I'm like, hell yeah, good for you guys. Shoot, knock that shit out of the ballpark. Have fun. Excuse my language. Have fun with that. I'm like, that is so awesome. I watch those videos, man, and I'm like, I'm like I said, I say it all the time. I'm freaking jealous because I want to have these fun matches. I want to be a kid again, but I just don't know how to. I just don't know how to have a wrestling match. It's one thing when you're having these matches when you're like 8 years old, but when you're like 40 years old and trying to put these matches, I don't know how to. I don't know how to put these matches together. This is me. This is me trying to have a. I don't know. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Oh man. This is easy matchup, man. Dusty Rhodes is gonna beat Hercules. He will move on to round 3. I really want to have that Ichiman Hogan back. I really want him in round 3, but Yellow SD Jones is a very deserving figure, so I'm not mad about that selection. But guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And if I didn't have that 10 minutes of talk time in the beginning of the video, this would have only been about 36 minutes. So this video actually went by pretty quickly considering. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, goodbye, everybody.